everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Ari, and today's video is following my character design process. The character I'm designing in this video is an original character for an original story. So without further ado, let's get started. So from the very beginning, I recorded my entire character design process. So what's on screen right now is me initially trying to get the idea that I had in my head of the general vibe of the character and get that onto the canvas. I wanted to get all the ideas I had, even if I didn't use them, I wanted to have them to reference back to later, just in case I wanted to use it for that character or for another character in the future. I like to get down all my ideas before they, disappear into the void of nothingness in my head. It's very easy for me to have a lot of ideas and just throw most of them out, but some of those ideas that I throw out are ideas that I actually really liked, I just didn't use. It's always such a shame to try and remember something that you knew that you liked and you had a great idea, but you just forgot it. So that's what this was, and on the side I have some symbols here. I have the sign for male. I wanted him to be a boy. I have him standing next to another one of my characters. They look like little stick figures, kind of. I just wanted that to show that he was short compared to his partner character. I have a little angry face to show that he's a rather abrasive person, and some little sparkles to show that he's expensive and very fancy, So the next step here was to make the character sketch, get a better sketch down rather than just the idea. So I started off with the body. I wanted him to appear more small and petite than I would normally draw a male. His shoulders are very broad and his waist is kind of small. He's not very large overall. And then I added the clothes. For the clothes, I wanted him to appear both guarded, but I wanted the clothes to show that he's trying to appear larger than he really is. So he's mostly covered. There's not really much skin showing except for his face, his neck, and his hands. He's very closed off, and I wanted him to appear very angular and sharp, because he is rather abrasive. Shows, don't bother me, I want to be left alone, kind of that. Looking like a total grump. And the coat there is actually very open, not because he's open emotionally, but because he wants to appear larger. And he also has flared pants for a similar reason, and the heeled boots to make him appear taller. His shirt there, the collar is very crinkled kind of and bent. That was on purpose. I kind of struggled to draw it actually, but I just wanted it to be very almost villainous. I wanted him to almost not. I don't want him to look like a hero character. I wanted him to look more like a villain. But really, my plan for him wasn't for him to be a villain. It was for him to be not with the good guys, but in between. Like, he'll help them, but he's only really doing it for personal gain. And also the hair. I wanted to talk about the hair. I wanted it to be curly, but the curls I didn't want to be taken care of and proper, essentially. I wanted them to be kind of wild and explosive to show his aggressive and angry, chaotic kind of vibe. And then I wanted to work on the colors in this sketch. I didn't do colors in the last one because I just wanted to get the idea down, but I do colors in the second one to try and map it out so that I can change them later and just see what works. And as you can see here on the side, I wrote some notes this time, actual words instead of just symbols. I also wrote a little note above his arm that says I may need to simplify, because as I was drawing this, I was starting to realize that his design was rather detailed and complicated, and it might be difficult to remember all those details and to also draw it over and over again. So the first bullet here says fancy vibes or pretty boy vibes. For that, I just wanted him to be very elegant and expensive. He's angry, has attitude, he's short and small, and I wrote small dog vibes, meaning imagine an angry little small dog. that's the same general air that I want him to have. And almost vampire vibes. I realized while I was drawing him that he seemed very Victorian and vampire-ish, which wasn't what I was going for initially, but I mean, I'll take it. I also wrote duo with Lay. He's a partner to another character of mine named Lay. They're supposed to work together, and on the last bullet there, it says that he secretly just wants Lay's approval. That's the thing with his character. He just wants to be accepted by Lay. So he'll do anything to try and appeal to Lay to how he thinks that Lay would want him. And then I also wrote cultured, annoying, feisty, kind of repeating the same thing about his character. And I felt like I didn't really get his face down how I wanted to, so I decided to do a quick little portrait that turned into a painting of him. It wasn't what I intended, but I wanted to get more detail in, so I painted that. I wanted to get the color of his hair especially, kind of map that out a little bit better, because I wanted his hair to almost appear fiery, once again with his fiery personality. And the color too, I wanted to try that color again, which I don't really know if it worked. And I wanted his necklace in there and his eyes to be yellow, which yellow is a color I've always had trouble with when it comes to eyes. So once again, I just wanted to try and get the idea that I had in my head down once more. Now, between this recording and the last recording, I went on Pinterest and I made a whole Pinterest board and everything of inspiration for this character. And that includes the clothing. I really struggled with the clothing on the last one. So I wanted to find some more references that I could actually reference for the clothing this time around whenever I wanted to draw him again. Because I just really felt like the last thing I had in mind wasn't going together very well. So what I did was I got all these images on my Pinterest board, and then I got my sketchbook and I just drew them in my sketchbook. I basically copied the exact image on my screen just in my sketchbook. So I wasn't tracing it, I was just directly referencing it, so that I could take it and go into Clip Studio again and re-sketch the character, but reference the sketches in my sketchbook, if that makes any sense. So I just took a picture of the page in my sketchbook and uploaded that to my computer, where I put it in the sub view so that I could reference it while I was sketching in Clip Studio. Really though, it wasn't that drastic of a change between this one and the last one. I just feel like the outfit just looks a lot better in general, but I kept the same basic elements, like the big coat and the flared pants and the heeled boots and even the gloves and the hair. Mostly what changed was the upper half of his chest. The collar is totally different, and then I have that second shirt on there. It'll be colored in a moment. It's going to be like this pinkish red color. I really struggled with the shirt area on the last one, so I wanted to change that, and I found this really cool looking one, which I decided to reference. I just thought it looked a lot better in general, and I still kept the tan cream white colored-ish collared shirt underneath. It's just underneath the second layer. And if he took off the coat, then he would still be wearing another kind of jacket. I think it's closer to a vest. I haven't drawn it yet, but I think it would be closer to a vest under that. I just like the look of that a lot better, and in general, I feel like the character was coming together a lot better by this point in the character design process. Since I liked how the last sketch looked, I decided to go ahead and do the final illustration painting for this character. I didn't record the sketch for this one, but I struggled a surprising amount when it came to this drawing. I don't know why. I typically don't struggle as much as I did, but I couldn't get the pose right, so I used Clip Studio's 3D modeling little dolls, and I kind of sketched and traced over that a little bit, and then I tried to change it by sketching over it again, but it just wasn't looking right. So I feel like his arm just looks weird and the proportions were a little off. That's why I don't like using that little model so much. It's good, but sometimes I can't figure out how to use it right. I have to use Clip Studio's extra features a bit more. It's a really great program, not sponsored, but I really like Clip Studio. But I still have to figure out how to use some of their tools a little bit more efficiently. But his hair here, it looked like, first it looked matted, and then it looked like ramen noodles. I couldn't win here. I just kept struggling. But eventually I tried to figure it out. His hair just looked not exactly how I wanted it to in this drawing. I kind of got it, I guess. It wasn't exactly what I had in mind though, which is unfortunate. But it's not awful. It's just not exactly what I was going for. It's still fine though. Even though I consider this the final kind of drawing for this, I know that the character is going to change, just as I draw him more and more. But yeah, and I couldn't figure out the lighting and shading on this one for his clothes. I wanted to give the clothes a bit more texture, but I couldn't figure out how to do that very well. And here I am trying to mess with the light, adding more and more layers, because I like to do my painting like all the color on one layer, but sometimes it doesn't always work. So then I add more and just mess with it until it looks like something that is alright. But yeah, I know that this character is going to change over time. The more I draw my characters, they just naturally kind of morph. Happened a lot with my main two characters for this story. It's just, I feel like it's like the natural process. Even if you do have a reference sheet, it's just going to change. That's just how it happens. But I'm not too concerned with it. I just got the general idea down. And yeah, I'm satisfied with how it turned out, I guess. I actually don't have a name for him though. I can't really think of any. I'm really bad at naming my characters. But if you guys have any ideas, it would be a great help if you could leave them in the comments. Maybe I'll pick one. That would be amazing. Because I really can't pick any names. None of them really strike me. So yeah. And I hope you guys liked the video. If you liked it, like and subscribe. You don't have to, of course, but it would really help me. But this is my first attempt at something like this. Probably can tell, but I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed making this video and this character. It was definitely an experience. I don't always go this in depth whenever I design a character, but for this one I did. And I think it turned out okay. I thank you for watching.